So, welcome back to the Rerun Project, everyone. One of the things we like to do every time we look at a year, like we're looking at 1999 for this little season, is just kind of take a look back and see what were the most popular movies of that year. And interestingly, we're talking about none of them in our season this time. In fact, we're not even talking about a movie in the top 10 of the top
Really?
grossing films. In fact, we're not
Huh.
even talking about a movie from the top 40 top
Wow.
grossing films of the year. We're about to talk about the highest grossing film in our 1999 roster, and it is South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, which logged in at number 46.
I mean, it makes me feel kind of like awesomely snobby. You know, like it like we're just like auteurs. Like, we're not picking them the most moneyed of the
Yeah,
1999.
and it also kind of says to me things that make a whole shit ton of money are not necessarily going to last very long in the public consciousness.
Also true.
I mean, sometimes there are movies that are just big old flops when they come out, and then they gain traction over years and they become, so it just makes me think things that are popular today, maybe they suck. And maybe we
Right.
just need to wait it out and see if these things actually last. So, anyway, let's take a look at the top three. Number three is a movie that I actually enjoy, but it never occurred to me that we would talk about it this year, is Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, which was the sequel to Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. This is the one where he went back to the 60s and met up with Heather Graham, who played Felicity Shagwell, and everything was just psychedelic and groovy.
I think the original Austin Powers is like it created a genre, it changed things. I will die on this horse. I saw it probably 5 times in the movie theater. I've seen it 50 times outside of the movie theater. I fucking love that movie. I think it is hilarious. And I'm not a huge James Bond person, so I didn't quite get all of the things that he was parodying until later, not in 1996 or 7, whenever it came out. I think it's fucking brilliant. And I mean, the number 2 and number 3 less so, but I think the first Austin Powers is a brilliant parody.
I think they're all equally good. I think we just had seen them before by the time the sequels came out. Like the
Yeah.
first one was just first. I mean, Beyonce is hilarious in number 3.
Yes.
And who doesn't love Fat Bastard? I mean, that's just a riot.
I feel turtle head poking out.
You need a fourth movie, though, where Scott Evil is actually the villain and Dr. Evil and Austin Powers have to team up to stop him because he's actually going to destroy the world.
Like X2,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
where the heroes and villains get together. I love it.
Yes.
I'm in. Okay, Hollywood, again, listen to us. Number 2, decent movie. We could have discussed this year, although the only big question is, did you see the twist coming and what do you think about the twist? And that is The Sixth Sense, which I learned at trivia last night is Bruce Willis's highest grossing film of all time.
Wow.
More than Die
Higher than
Hard,
Die
more
Hard.
than Armageddon.
That's kind of crazy.
Because everyone in 99 went to go see it twice. Do you remember? They all left the theater and immediately bought their ticket to go in again to see if in fact, spoiler alert, he was really dead the whole time. Like everyone needed to watch because they're like, but he was in that scene with Toni Collette and he went to dinner with his wife and he did this and he did that. And they went back and sure enough, nobody talks to him except the little kid once he's dead. I mean, it really does work perfectly.
I do enjoy that movie. I would like to see it again because I probably haven't seen it in a minute. And, I've spoken on this podcast at length about how gullible I am and how I almost never fall for a twist in either a book or a movie. So if I can see your twist coming, it is not a good twist because I am the poster child for gullibility. So I definitely did not see it coming and I was blown away. And
And number 1, box office of 1999, a movie we absolutely are not nor will ever talk about, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
it had such promise. I was so excited to see it. I stood in line at the Uptown to go and watch it. And God, that trilogy is awful. And it's so bad. And I had such high expectations for it.
I mean,
As
Ewan
it-
McGregor is always hot. Other than that, I can't really say much about it.
It was, yeah. And this was surprisingly the worst of the 3 films of the trilogy.
I wouldn't know because after this one, I didn't watch 2 or 3. I wouldn't.
so I watched them all.
Yeah, I
I'm a
watched them
sucker.
all.
I'm a sucker.
Unfortunately, it probably ruined that poor kid's life doing that movie because I think the amount of hate that has been lobbed on that poor kid.
I mean, thank God the guy who voiced Jar Jar Binks was not recognizable, or his life would have been, even worse. Terrible.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The only thing it gave us was some really cool music, and that was really it. There was some really good music that came out of that movie, and that's about all I can say.
Gonna take your word
An
for that
interesting lightsaber fight at the end.
one. Sure.
That does not make a movie, though. Barely makes a television episode.
Welcome to the Rewind Project, where Allie, Matt, and Eric take another look at your favorite milestone movies through the lens of our present day. Will it be a skip, rent, or buy? Stay tuned and find out.
Okay, well, welcome back, everybody. We are going to be talking about South Park today. Bigger, longer, and uncut.
Did you just make a dick joke, Matt?
I didn't intend to. It's an innuendo.
This was a wild ride for me. I had never seen it, so when I watched it last night, it was the first time I'd ever seen it. I knew the songs. I generally knew what it was about, ? And I'm really, really angry with myself for laughing as much as I did because it's really fucking stupid.
But that's the point, though, and it knows that it's stupid.
I know, but every time I laughed, I got so mad at myself, but I couldn't help it. It just was coming out because it is funny.
I mean, sometimes you just have to let yourself enjoy those things.
I guess so.
Okay, you're not a lesser person for enjoying it. So, written by Trey Parker, Matt Stone, and Pam Brady, and directed by Trey Parker. This movie actually does have some notable achievements. Oscar nominee, Best Music, Original Song, Blame Canada.
Well, they weren't going to nominate Uncle Fucka and sing it at the Oscars.
That song, though, that's my favorite song in the whole musical is Uncle Fucker. It's very catchy. I was just reading an article recently, very recently, like within the last few weeks, and they were talking about, maybe it was about the Oscars that just happened. And they were saying that Robin Williams doing this song is one of the pinnacles of the Oscars. And like, why can't we get back? Why can't we get back to, because it was about Ryan Gosling's I'm Just Ken. Like, why can't we get back to these like fun songs as part of the Oscars and not just like the weepy ballads? It was a very interesting article, so very prescient based on what we're talking about today.
Yeah. See, and if it were me, if someone had said, Eric, what should we do for our Oscar campaign? Personally, if just going for the win, I think Blame Canada is a brilliant song. But what would Brian Boitano do? I think is probably one of the funniest. I mean, I laughed so hard. And you could actually sing that. And you could get Brian Boitano probably on stage.
Imagine Brian Boitano, they have an ice rink that lifts up out of the stage, and he's just ice skating while they're singing that song. That would have been hilarious.
Oh my God. And Brian Boitano loves Trey Parker and Matt Stone. He thinks that the song is hilarious. He sells merch on his website that says, what would Brian Boitano do? And he gives the money to charity.
That's amazing.
Yes, he's totally into it.
I love it.
MTV Movie Plus TV Awards winner, Best Musical Performance for Matt Stone and Trey Parker for Uncle Fucka.
What's it about?
What's it about?
So accolades are abound for this.
Really. Dripping in trophies.
Listen, it's 25 years later and we're still talking about it. I mean, that's a notable achievement in and of itself, which has, that's all the movies we talk about. Again, I'm amazed that this is the highest grossing film on our entire list, and it was number 46 of the year.
That is crazy.
It is. Plot. So this is an educational film that exposes the real dangers Canada poses on the fragile and influential minds of the United States youth.
This movie has worked, my fragile little man.
I mean, I couldn't think of anything better than that. I mean, Canada
Well,
does pose a severe risk to the rest of
their
us.
beady little eyes and their flappy faces. I find that racist.
I mean, my sister lives in Toronto now, and I do spend a fair amount of time in Canada, and they're not necessarily wrong. Canadians are very nice, but they're just like a weird breed in and of itself, in and of themselves. It's hard to explain.
So let's get into the cast here. Trey Parker as Stan Marsh. Now, I mean, Trey does multiple voices, so he'll show up a couple of times. I honestly, until actually doing the cast list for the movie, I am a big fan of the show. I have watched every season of the show, like at least twice. I've gone through the entire
Really?
season twice. Yeah,
I think
There's
I've
like
seen
26 seasons.
I know. We also had COVID, so I watched
Fair.
a lot of South Park.
I mean, fair, but I think I've seen maybe like 3 episodes ever of South Park.
I used to have the first season on DVD, and I watched those quite out because the first season is fucking brilliant. And then in my research for this pod, the second season, Trey and Matt basically heeded the advice, the bad advice of some people around them and said, you guys need to branch out. You guys need to do a bunch of other things. Just let some other people do South Park. They'll run it for years. It'll be really successful, and you can do all kinds of other stuff. And the second season of South Park apparently sucked for that reason because they had very little involvement. They weren't writing for it anymore. But they had this movie deal, and they were like, well, the show's about to be canceled, and everyone hates us. So let's just offend everyone we possibly can. They were not thinking this was going to be a lasting enterprise. But they got back involved in season 3, and they've been involved ever since. They still write every episode.
The writing is amazing, and how topical it is kind of incredible. They've gotten to a point now where they can create a show in a week.
Yes.
So a lot, for like multiple seasons, like something will happen in the news and then they'll have an episode out like within a week about it. So it is still kind of current for everything that's going on. It is some of the craziest shit that you've ever seen. They have an entire season dedicated to Mr. Garrison being president, and he's basically, because they didn't want to do Trump, he is their Trump stand-in. And it's hilarious. Mr. Garrison as Trump is hilarious. The writing, they're not scared to do anything, and they make fun of everything. So they don't hold anything precious, which I kind of love. So it's like comfort food for me.
I love it, and and you know me, I overthink everything. I love the idea that no one is quote unquote safe, because I think we can all laugh at ourselves a little bit. But sometimes it's hard to, like, I try to intuit what are Trey and Matt trying to say here? And half the time I think they're not trying to say anything. They're just trying to crack stupid jokes and make people laugh. But they crack jokes about some serious shit sometimes. And it's like, what side are you on? And then it's just like, I don't think they're on a side. And honestly, I don't know that South Park is that influential in the culture that if you get made fun of, your career is over. Most people they make fun of just get up the next day and keep on doing what they're doing, and it doesn't affect them one way or the other.
I liken it to Saturday Night Live. That, Saturday Night Live just makes fun of everybody if it's something that they think is funny. It just doesn't matter. So it doesn't. There is not a particular side that they're trying to influence. So I kind of feel like South Park's the same way.
I mean, for me, South Park and The Simpsons are two sides of the same coin. I mean, I think The Simpsons is probably the most brilliant critique of society on television. And it has been since it started. Every time, I don't watch the episodes as regularly as I used to, but every time I catch one or even a snippet of one, I'm like, that's so fucking genius that you're using parody or using satire in this way. And obviously, it's less dirty because they're on network television. But, I see South Park too. Definitely some of the movie, a small percentage of the movie, I did, even 25 years later, was like, oh, well, that's fucking brilliant social commentary. And then some of it, I'm like, oh, Trey Parker and Matt Stone are basically like grown up, 50-year-olds in like a 6-year-old body. Like I was like, oh, okay, that's like the rest of the 98%
Yeah.
of the movie.
Yeah.
I was like, they still like fart jokes and all that bullshit. So.
Setting yourself on fire while trying to light your fire. Yeah, I mean it's a brilliant plot point, but it's also hilarious because it's stupid.
So stupid, so fucking stupid, so dumb.
Well, back into it. So Trey Parker as Stan Marsh, I don't know.
Stan's kind of an everyman. I mean, he's not.
No.
I mean, Stan and Kyle are just, the two quote unquote normal kids that you attach yourself to, and they kind of take you through these stories. But they don't really have really defining characteristics.
Well, except Kyle's Jewish. That's the only defining characteristic of him.
Well, typically, Kyle is generally the moral compass. And
oh, God.
Yeah, he likes to stand up for things and like what is right and what is wrong. Generally, if you're going to have somebody that is going to talk about it, it's going to be Kyle. He's the one that is the social warrior, essentially.
Kyle or Stan?
Kyle. Stan is like you said, he's the everyman. He's just like, this is just kind of like the way life is.
Okay.
And
only because I was looking at a few clips, and there was one where Stan was all agog about whales and dolphins being killed, and Kyle didn't seem to give a shit.
It's at least the later seasons, Kyle is generally the one that is like the moral compass. Stan is just like, well, this is bullshit. And like he's a nihilist and just doesn't he's like, I can't deal with society anymore because of all the crap. But he's not the one that's going to stand up and make a difference. Whereas Kyle is the one that will actually say something.
All right.
So Trey Parker as Stan, Stan himself, is like the everyday person. Yeah. It's kind of funny. He also does the voice of Stan's dad too. So I don't know. As Stan as a character, I think is the person you tend to relate with the most. I don't know. Thoughts on that? If you really
to me, Stan and Kyle, because a lot of it is a dialogue and they talk to each other.
Relate is a strong word for any of these characters, except for Kyle's mom, who I will play in the live action version of whenever this movie gets made into a stage show. I was like, oh, this is me. To a T. I was very excited. I would say that I think that out of all of them, probably Kyle, I guess I would relate to the most outside of the Jewishness. I hope nobody relates to Cartman. Though we all know people like Cartman. We have all had the friends like Cartman. I think we could probably, even people listening can think of their Cartman right now. So
he's a true sociopath in the sense of the word. Well, so his best friend, Matt Stone, plays Kyle Broflovsky. Again, I think we've kind of like nailed both of them already. So, the two more, I guess, like I said, the more.
Did you just make a pedophilia joke?
Ah, yikes!
This is what this movie has done to me. It has warped my fragile little mind.
But the fact that we can just laugh about it now is kind of fun.
Is it?
Well, we didn't. I don't know. Actually, that's a good question. Maybe my fragile little mind has been warped too.
Maybe.
So I laugh at things that I shouldn't be laughing at. Trey Parker returns as Eric Cartman, our lovable sociopath.
Who is the funniest thing about South Park? I hate him. I hate him. I don't want to be his friend. If he were of age, I would not want to have a beer with Eric Cartman, but he is the reason to watch the show. He is fucking hilarious. And honestly, the thing that I laughed at the most was his little Disneyfied trip around the world in the midst of Kyle's mom is a bitch. Funniest thing in the guy. So funny.
I'm glad that they resurrected that song. From
I am too. It was a moment. Although, Allie, have you ever heard Kyle sing "It's Hard to Be a Jew at Christmas"?
No, but I can picture it.
Yes, go all the way there because they certainly do.
Awesome.
Was that the first Christmas episode where they?
It was the first season. Yes.
Yes.
I'm a Jew, a lonely Jew. I'd be married. I'd be merry, but I'm Hebrew.
It's not a lie. I always say how alienated I feel at Christmas time, so I get it.
I apologize for all the Christmas movies we've made you watch over
Thank
the
you.
years.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Matt. I appreciate that. I mean, there's no Hanukkah movies that I can make you guys watch, though. I wish I would have made you watch the Ten Commandments.
Eight Crazy Nights.
That was a misstep on my part to not make you watch the Ten Commandments.
You had an opportunity.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Two hot ass leading men.
I had to rewind the Rewind Project and do it again.
Moses, you splendid fool.
Oh, so fucking hot in this movie. Anyway, back to South Park.
Down to South Park. Surprisingly, Matt Stone fills out the four-friend group with Kenny McCormick in the hat, or the hood, that you can't ever actually understand what he's saying. But if you listen really carefully, he is actually talking and saying all the things that he's saying. But because you can't you're not supposed to be able to understand it. They actually got away with stuff in the first season that, like, Kenny was pretty much swearing the entire time.
Yes.
To make out what he was saying.
Before South Park was allowed to swear, Kenny still had a potty mouth.
Yes. So it was just muffled and you couldn't understand.
And they write dialogue for Kenny. I mean, they write it out in full sentences, and Matt Stone says it all, and we can't understand most of it. But, you get a lot of it in context.
Yeah, exactly.
Kenny's shtick runs real thin for me very quickly.
The swearing or the whole he dies in every episode?
Oh, just the fact that you can't understand what he's saying, like, that just annoys me. I don't mind the dying. I don't mind that, you killed Kenny, you bastard. Even I know that, and I'm not a South Park person. I just, I just don't find it. I don't find it hilarious.
I mean, to me, it's funny that it never is not snowing, and no matter when it's supposed to be, and even though they're in summer vacation, they're all wearing, like, Kyle never gets out of that Canadian hat with the flaps on the ears, and Stan is always wearing his little knit hat with a little bonbon on top, and Kenny's always got this, I mean, to me, that's the part that's hilarious. And I actually kind of think that the shtick of trying to figure out what Kenny just said is sometimes kind of funny. It opens itself up to comedy quite a lot.
Because I know what I would say, so that's why I'm laughing.
Exactly.
I am literally like a 12-year-old at heart. So, like, I never really progressed into adulthood. Mary Kay Bergman as Sheila Broflovsky, Kyle's mom.
An extremely tragic story.
Is it?
Is it?
Oh, well, I went down a Wikipedia rabbit hole because I was like, who does this voice? It's a mediocre New York Jew accent. I was like, I don't know. And I had not heard of her. She was, I think she had, like, I don't want to speak out of turn. I can go on Wikipedia and verify, but she committed suicide, right before this movie came out in 1999.
Oh, wow.
She had, like, eating disorders. She had, I think, some mental health issues. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
I went down that rabbit hole because I wanted to see who all the voices were.
So, oh man, that means they had somebody else is actually voicing her for the last umpteen years now.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I'm sorry to rain on everybody's parade.
Yeah, Allie, way to harsh the vibe.
I know, right? Yikes! I thought everybody would have known that.
And we actually find out in later seasons that it's actually a mediocre New Jersey accent. So she's from Jersey.
Hard to tell. My heritage is Long Island Jew, so that's immediately where I go. But yes, there's lots of Jews in New Jersey too.
That episode, by the way, is one of the funniest episodes I think I've ever seen. It is hilarious because they totally make fun of Jersey Shore.
Oh, that is fun. I mean, I do love Jersey Shore, so that is very funny.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Next up, and I had to put this in there, Trey Parker and Matt Stone play a loving couple as well. Trey Parker as Satan. He is a reoccurring character in the show. So is Jesus. Actually, so is God. It's
trifecta. It's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, right? Like,
yeah. It is how they use them is hilarious. So I'm always Whenever you see Satan, I'm always delighted for some reason on this
Is
show.
Satan an overly sensitive gay man in all of his?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
His relationship with the next character, Matt Stone as Saddam Hussein, is ongoing throughout the series.
That was
So they get back together.
Yeah. They get back together, and there's later episodes where he kicks him out and he meets another gay guy in hell, and they have a start to create a loving relationship, and Saddam has to break them up. It's just ongoing and hilarious.
That is the one part of the movie that did not hit for me. I liked Satan, but the whole Saddam Hussein stuff, and I just was like, this doesn't even like he didn't even do a different voice. Like it just sounded like one of the kids. It just, I don't know. I'm not homophobic. I just didn't like Saddam Hussein. I feel like I need to say that.
I mean, honestly, as a gay person watching this, that was one of the things when I was kind of alluding to before. It's like, what do they feel about gay people? I mean, the gay characters in this movie were Mr. Garrison, it never says so, but clearly, Big Gay Al, Satan, and Saddam Hussein.
Which they have added, Mr. Slave later. Was Mr. Garrison's love interest for a while, and then they broke up and then I think Mr. Slave and Big Gay Al got together for a little bit.
Of course they did.
So their track record with gay characters have never been great, but I don't know that they've also ever like mistreated their gay characters.
Well, I mean, Mr. Garrison
did their other characters.
Mr. Garrison's funny because he's so closeted, and I feel like Mr. Garrison mostly makes fun of how ridiculous closeted people are.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like, I mean, I had some teachers in high school who I later found out were gay, who were very closeted and probably would have lost their jobs if anyone had known that they were gay when they were, and so it's like, I look at that and I'm like, I don't know if I won't name him here because he's actually still alive and my Facebook friend, and I don't know if he listens to our show, but it's just like, if he found out, if he watched the show, would he think Mr. Garrison was funny? I don't know. I mean, when Mr. Garrison tells Mr. Hat he can't wait to get his hands on some poontang, did I laugh? I did. I did. I laughed.
The fact that his best friend is a hand puppet that is not just used for the class. Like Mr. Hat was a character for the first couple of seasons.
Oh yeah, Mr. Hat has his own personality that only Mr. Garrison can hear, which is obviously Mr. Garrison gives him a personality because he needs to go to bed with somebody, so he goes to bed with a hand puppet. It's all very strange.
I will say that they did introduce another gay couple later. Tweak and Craig are actually a gay couple, and they're like the most normal relationship that's been on the show for a long time.
But like the way that they, even present not Saddam, but Satan is like this really nice guy who's got a toxic boyfriend. And it's like you're looking at it, but it's like, okay, but you're Satan. Like it's just, and this is where I go back to, I don't think it's supposed to make any sense. I don't think I'm supposed to be getting any life lessons from this. I think it's just a couple of juvenile men child who just think that something is, that'll be funny, and they just throw it in there.
I totally agree. You should never take any of this seriously. I mean, if you are getting life lessons from South Park, please stop now.
Yeah, well, true. I mean, I'm not. But you know me. I mean, I overthink everything, especially when I'm watching something for this show. I'm like, what are they saying here? And it's like, they're not saying anything. They just told a fart joke. Let it go.
Yeah, for sure.
The world needs fart jokes every now and then. Just
that's my least favorite kind of humor. I love to laugh, everyone. I love to laugh. I love to make people laugh. I hate, Matt Bachman will back me up on this, I hate fart jokes.
Really?
Very much so.
See, I hate whoopee cushions because I think they're just, I don't think it's a good fart joke. I think there are good fart jokes out there.
So
yeah,
sparingly. We're gonna have to deconstruct slow horses at a later date, and get into the fart jokes.
Oh,
I mean,
I've
when Gary Oldman makes a fart joke, so I don't know, somehow he elevates it. I don't know.
oh gosh, I don't know. We'll have to see. I started the book, so I will let you know. I will keep you posted.
This is not a Slow Horses podcast, but man, one of the best shows on television.
Very
Such
fun.
a good show. He's so compelling, even though he's such a disgusting person.
Oh, he's so gross. But it's Gary Oldman, so
It's
you know.
You know how I feel about like dirty people like that. Ugh.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
he
We'll
is.
see.
I mean, you can smell him through the television. He is vile.
so gross.
Okay.
Last up, a couple of honorable mentions that just tickled me. Minnie Driver as Brooke Shields instead of Carrie
So
Brooke.
random, but I love it.
Brent Spiner, Mr. Data himself, as Conan O'Brien.
Had no idea, but that's very funny.
Yeah. And then lastly, I knew his voice right away.
Right away.
I know his voice. And so I just love that he was in the show. George Clooney as Dr. Ghosh.
Is he the one that put a baked potato where Kenny's heart should be?
Yes.
Got it.
I was like, that sounds like George Clooney. And then I, went to the interwebs and yes, it was.
It just proves that the man has depths. Just depths.
Add a sense of humor.
So, like, watching the movie, like you said, I mean, it's not a huge brain exercise. I mean, it's just, meant to let you laugh and just relax. But South Park itself, it is kind of known for pointing fun at everything. Like, nothing is precious. Like, you can laugh at anything, make fun of anything. I mean, honestly, during this season with Mr. Garrison as president, we also get Caitlyn Jenner, and they make fun of how she's reported to have killed somebody with her car. It was a running gag in like every episode that she was in, she would run over somebody as she was like running in. So they do.
Caitlyn Jenner is just an awful person, so that's okay with me.
A+, yeah.
But it's interesting. I mean, they make fun of they make fun of everything, and every once in a while they have a real opinion about something and they totally go for that. So like one of the things that I thought was the cleverest thing in this movie is when Mrs. Broflovsky is saying, and just remember, horrific violence is fine as long as you don't say any bad words, because the MPAA is stupid. And Matt and Trey know that they're stupid. And so they make fun of them every single time, and and also do things in real life to try to piss them off. So they are capable of saying, okay, let's have a point of view and put it into humor. And then sometimes they're like, let's just tell fart jokes today.
Well, and it's interesting that you point that out specifically because they had huge battles with the MPAA over this movie. And they were personally upset that the only reason they were getting such a high rating was because of all the swearing. Any of the violence, the shooting of soldiers and stuff like that, none of that was the reason that they were getting an NC-17 rating for every time they said the movie. It was because of all the baddie language.
That's so crazy. There's a live action clitoris in this movie, and that didn't get him. Like, come on.
And yet, if you didn't know what a clitoris was, you wouldn't know what it was after watching this movie.
No, but everybody should know what a fucking clitoris is. I'm just saying.
You should be able to find the clitoris.
As a PSA, if you like women, yes.
Unless you're in the 4th grade, then maybe you shouldn't be able to find the clitoris. Thank you, Chef.
Taking this back, though, so their battles with the MPAA, that is an interesting point. As a kid, again, I probably shouldn't admit this, like, my mom took us to see anything that was violent. The only thing that we couldn't see was sex, like swearing, violence. My mom took me and my friends for my 12th birthday to see RoboCop 2. So, like, that was my birthday present.
Is that a violent movie? I've not seen it.
Extremely.
It was almost NC-17 because they killed a kid in it. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they killed
I convinced my mother that she had promised me to see the Amityville Horror when I was in like the 6th grade. So she took me to see that. And when I was like, underneath the theater seat, like, screaming, she kind of regretted that choice. But there we are.
That is a scary ass movie, especially when you're a kid. It's a scary ass book too. Woo.
I mean, parents, they're learning on the job. They don't always know what they're doing.
Yes. Very true.
But
This is not
but
we're
it
not
is
bashing our
true.
parents.
But it is true that, like, this movie, as well as the the movie within the movie, the whole Terrence and Philip Asses of Fire, hilarious. They say, oh, but it's not meant for kids, and it's true that adults can get a lot out of South Park, but you can't tell me that 6th and 7th graders all over America in 1999 did not want to go see South Park.
Well, so that was another problem for them, is that they were embroiled with a battle with a lot of other people, especially when it came to marketing. And like even the government, like Bill Clinton was president at the time, and he kind of had a zero tolerance for people trying to sneak into the movies that summer. Because kids would go in to see one movie, I think it was Wild Wild West. And I mean, they would sneak in, they were going to say that, and they would sneak into South Park. So the movie was actually, the reality of the movie was mirroring what was going on.
That's funny.
That's why it was only number 46 on our list, because all the ticket sales were being credited to Wild Wild West.
Wild West.
Which is an awful movie. It's so bad.
Yes. Wiki whack. There's actually an episode of South Park that makes fun of Wild Wild West.
Of course there is. I will say my favorite thing about this movie and about South Park in general is I always pay attention to what like the background things that they have, like what they have on the wall they have a picture of Thurgood Marshall in the classroom, which is hilarious on a million levels. And I was looking at the other movie posters, and one was the rat kicker, which I was like, you know how I feel about rats. But the other one was Mecha Streisand, like Mecha Godzilla, but it was Mecha Streisand.
Well, Mecha Streisand is a character on South Park.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I clearly don't know what y'all know. So I thought that was hilarious. But like my favorite thing is looking at all of like the posters, like in the doctor's office and in the counselor's, in the principal's office. But yeah, that was my favorite.
Some
was
of them were just random.
Marshall.
Like Mr. Garrison's alphabet makes no sense. It's not the alphabet.
No.
Like, and it's so distracting. It's like, what is that? And I'm like trying to I almost wanted to pause the movie and like see if I could decode the secret message in Mr. Garrison's fucked up alphabet, but I'm like, I don't have the time.
Yeah, I love shit like that. Like that was my favorite, is like all the things in the background.
Hidden commentary about the educational system in America.
Probably.
I guess. But I love the fact that Stan's mom works at Tom's Rhinoplasty.
Do you guys have an affinity for animation in general, and particular adult animation, or do you guys just kind of avoid it when you can?
It doesn't really do very much for me. Like I've never seen this Big Mouth you speak of. I've not watched Futurama. I've not watched fill in the blank, animated movie. The only, and I don't know, does this count as animation? The only, I guess, adult TV show that I used to watch regularly was Robot Chicken.
That counts.
Oh yeah.
I think that's fucking hilarious, but I'm not into like Family Guy or, any of that stuff. It doesn't do anything for me.
I don't watch them regularly, but you know what? I don't watch sitcoms either. Like the half-hour sitcom format, I've gotten to like, I'm really into binging. Like I've become a total millennial in terms of my viewing habits. I binge things, and if you don't give me like a cliffhanger, then I might not come back for a while. So I don't like watch any sitcoms or anything that's just kind of like a contained half an hour thing religiously. But I don't have anything against animation as a genre, as long as it's done well. It's funny. I fucking hate Mel Gibson and won't watch anything he ever does. But before he was complete trash, I loved Chicken Run. That was one of my favorite. And Wallace and Gromit is brilliant stuff. I love some of that stuff. And I was the only one who liked Isle of Dogs. I thought that was really fun. The Wes Anderson.
I fell asleep.
Yeah. It was because it was animated. I think people expected it to be a lot quicker and faster and more exciting. It was a very quiet little story, but it was nice. So yeah, I have nothing against animation, but I just want it to be smart and offer me something. I'm not going to watch a show that's truly designed for kids. Not interested. But there's so much adult animation. Hell, when I was a kid, We had a bunch of VHS tapes, and one of them, if you kept watching past the movie that was on it, was the last half of Fritz the Cat. You ever heard of Fritz the Cat?
No.
It's a
Yes.
cartoon that was made in 1972, and it had an X rating, and it featured lots of anthropomorphic animals having sex. It was basically like cartoon porn. And all the police officers were actually pigs. All of the black people were crows. It was very much
Oh,
like
geez.
Dumbo. Yeah, I mean,
Ooh.
it was designed to be as offensive, and it was based on a Robert Crumb cartoon, which I don't know if you know anything about Robert Crumb, but he was like the original super shocking, based out of San Francisco. There's a great documentary about Robert Crumb, by the way, if you're interested in all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, animation is not a kids only genre, but I need to understand that it has something to offer me before I'm going to necessarily seek it out.
I mean, that makes sense. I've always loved cartoons and animation, and I think as an adult, I love it even more, especially adult animation, because there's things that you can do or get away with in an animated show that you can't do in real life, like having Satan and Saddam Hussein have a homosexual relationship in hell. That you could not get away with that in
Or
live
even
action.
having Brooke Shields show up in the Conan O'Brien show, and they're both saying lines that neither Brooke nor Conan would ever say. You can put
Yes.
that in a cartoon.
Yeah, that's easy enough to do. So yeah, I kind of always, it is for me, it is comfort food. I will sit down, like I have a hard time locking onto sitcoms now. I think actually it is Modern Family that kind of ruined me, because the writing for that show was so good that it kind of makes other sitcoms pale in comparison. They just feel like a one camera on stage show, and it just doesn't feel as good. I mean, it just doesn't feel as smart. And so I just stopped watching those. But animation, you can do just anything you want. And so there's like certain shows like Rick and Morty, love. Solar Opposites, love. I am more of an American Dad person than Family Guy, because Roger the Alien, the cross-dressing alien that is supposed to be, what's his name, Uncle Arthur, the guy who plays Uncle Arthur
Paul Lynde.
from Paul Lynde. He's just a Paul Lynde ripoff. He's hilarious. I mean, the shenanigans that he gets into, it is truly allows you. It's smartly written, but it is also truly just kind of lets you shut your brain off, because it is so ridiculous. You don't have to wonder about it, and there's no moral at the end of the show. You know, like we used to have to get in all our sitcoms.
Well, and I do think, like you say, there are things that you can do. Family Guy, I don't watch regularly at all, but I love the fact that the two funniest characters are the cynical dog and the sociopathic British baby. That's funny. I mean, that's just funny.
Their Road 2 episodes are some of the funniest ones, where it's just the two of them, not the rest of the family, and it's kind of a takeoff on the Bob Hope and who was Bob's
Bing
partner?
Crosby.
Bing Crosby, those Road 2
Road to
movies.
Valley, Road to,
Yeah, they have a couple of Road 2 episodes that the two of them are, it's just them for the entire episode, and it's hilarious. Are you guys ready for some fun facts? Or interesting facts? I don't know that all of them are fun.
They're pretty fun.
Lay it on me.
Matt Stone and Trey Parker's conditions to make the movie was that it would receive a R rating. As one would expect, Paramount executives fought for PG-13, even creating fucking graphs to illustrate how much more money the lower rating would generate.
Of course it would.
Of course. I mean, obviously.
I know, but it just kind of tells you that the people in charge don't care about movies.
No.
They care more about making money.
That is a tale as old as time. The Hollywood executives are there in suits to make money. And they're working with artists, some of whom care about the art, some of whom care about the art, but really would like to be famous and have a house in Malibu with a pool overlooking the Pacific Ocean while they're making art. And then you have people like Trey and Matt who are like, how the fuck did we even get here? Let's just do what we want to do. I've already got more money than I know what to do with.
Well, I mean, they did that first viral video while they were working somewhere else. Could you remember the original viral video?
Yes, the one where Jesus and Santa Claus wrestle.
Yeah, they fight each other out for Christmas. But then that was all like clip construction paper and stuff that they did. It was all kind of stop motion that they put together.
And George Clooney got that Christmas card, and he was one of their early champions because he thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen.
I forgot about that. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. But like, they obviously care about it. So just let them do their thing and you'll make money. Otherwise, it wouldn't have turned into a show in the first place.
Well, and that's what executives, the lesson they never learn is that when people do something really original, it always makes money. And then they say, how do we copy that? And it's like, anytime you try to copy it, it's not going to make as much money because it doesn't get to people. It doesn't affect them as much as the original thing did. I mean, that's just, again, that's the story of Hollywood for the past 100 years.
Yep. Lightning doesn't strike twice. I was surprised to learn this next fact. The movie is actually computer animated. Instead
of what?
Watching the movie, I thought, because I knew how they originally did it, I thought it was, it was either like stop motion or hand drawn or whatever. I kind of feel stupid now for thinking that, but it actually is computer animated. They were using SGI hardware, so Silicon Graphics hardware, to make this movie. I had no idea.
To me, the second funniest thing in the whole movie is when Cartman's talking about Terrence and Phillip, and he's like, yeah, but the animation kind of sucks. And then you get this 10-second thing of them walking down the sidewalk, which is basically just them, looking like they're having spasms because it's just really shitty animation. That's very true. Funny. Very funny.
Being self-deferential.
See, they do like stupid ass fart jokes, and then they also do things that are just really clever. And I love the clever stuff, but then you have to get through, sorry, Allie, but we need to get through a couple more fart jokes before we get to the next clever thing.
So many fart jokes.
But there's something for everybody, though.
And to me, the funniest thing about Kenny lighting himself on fire was not that he was trying to light a fart, but that they actually used real photographs of fire. So it almost looked realistic for a second. Mm-hmm. I mean, the animation style of that was so funny. That's what made me laugh. And I'm like, again, there's always a bunch of stuff going on. Very funny.
Not that it wasn't cutouts of flames.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, they actually just used flame.
The movie was originally called South Park: All Hell Breaks Loose, but the MPAA objected to the use of the word hell.
See, another title that I heard was South Park: Kenny Goes to Hell,
which they probably would have objected to as well.
I'm sure. And there's a great documentary called This Film Is Not Yet Rated, and it's all about the MPAA and the board and how they're unelected people. Most of them are really old, so you can tell jokes about new things that are going on and they won't even know.
You have no idea.
I don't know if you noticed, but Big Gay Al's piano was made by Felcher and Sons.
Dude.
And these old farts from the MPAA wouldn't even know what that was. So it wouldn't even have crossed their mind to argue about it. So they sneak in all this shit all the time. Anyway, Matt and Trey are heavily featured in This Film Is Not Yet Rated because they fucking hate the MPAA. And they talk about the fact that with both this one and Team America World Police, they figured out the movie they wanted, and then they figured out the first 20 cuts they were going to deliver to the MPAA, and they basically wear them down. Finally, they're like, fine, we'll give you an R rating. We don't want to watch your stupid movie anymore. But they have a plan going in.
Which, I mean, I gotta love them for that. Thank you for fighting the good fight.
I think they just enjoy... Okay, here's cut number 2. Okay, here's cut number 3. Okay, and they know they're being trolled at some point. They have to.
Well, I mean, it's so arbitrary.
It is.
It's so arbitrary.
Incredibly arbitrary, and that's why they hate them so. I mean, I hate them too, but that's just yes.
Well, and that brings us to our last fun fact. The film has 399 swear words.
Honestly, I would have thought more.
I would have thought so too. Because the MPAA said an R-rated movie has to be under 400 swear words. So
stop it.
399.
Now, did pissed off count? Because, Cartman got shocked when he said, I'm pissed off.
I don't know. It might have. Part of me kind of wants to watch probably it again. And just count all through. All those, yeah, because the ones from Kenny wouldn't count because you can't hear them or understand them.
Well, they wouldn't, clearly. These old farts on the MPAA board.
Okay, let's
It's
jump
best
into
to.
game time.
Oh, let's.
Let's.
Uh, this one's called It Needs a Movie. So, I mean, they weren't really looking to make a movie. They just kind of got told, hey, you guys are really popular. Let's make a movie before you get unpopular like some other films. So take an animated franchise and make a film from it. Tell me what the main plot is, who directs it, and what is your Oscar-nominated song? So going first, Allie.
Okay, I was extremely excited to discover that this property does not have a movie. My sister and I, probably too young, watched this series on a loop. There aren't that many episodes, but we love, and I still love to this day, even though the creator is problematic, Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Their nerve ending fairy episode, I could like quote that to you. It is so fucking hilarious. It was a lot of it. I need to watch it now because I'm sure a lot of it was over my head when I was, I don't know, 12 or 13 or whenever I was watching it. But like, I don't know. We just thought that was so hilarious. And our dad like sometimes watched with us, and I'm sure that he got a lot more. But yeah. So this is Ren and Stimpy. So the plot of this movie is that if you're familiar with the Ren and Stimpy series, you know that the log, the toy, the log, is very heavily featured throughout all of the episodes. And for my Ren and Stimpy movie, excuse me, Ren and Stimpy go on Shark Tank to promote the log. And I just want to see what the creators of Ren and Stimpy do. I watch Shark Tank all the time, so I want to see what they do with the 5 sharks and how they do like the satire parody of the sharks, like who is going to play Mr. Wonderful, and like what's he going to look like, or Barbara, or Damon, like so Mark Cuban as a weird looking thing. And obviously, there's already a song written, but Megan Thee Stallion is going to cover the log song. What rolls downstairs, alone or in pairs, rolls over your neighbor's dog. So she's going to do that. She's going to rap in the middle of it, and she's going to put her hot girl magic on it, and that is going to be the Oscar-nominated song. And when I was doing research, my first choice was Gem of the Holograms, and then Eric had to play spoiler and told me that there was a Gem in the Holograms movie in 2015.
It was live action, though. Doesn't count.
Sure, but I wanted to go. I went a different direction, but I mean, there were a lot of famous people in this movie, and John Chu directed the Gem and the Holograms movie, so he's going to direct my Ren and Stimpy movie. That's my homage. So
nice,
yeah,
love it. Oh, I truly that tickles me in like so many ways.
I know.
Fucking hilarious.
I was like, Ren and Stimpy are obviously going on Shark Tank with the log, carrying on the log. Like it's going to be amazing. Like if the South Park people can create an hour and 20-minute movie about all that BS, we can create an hour and 20 movie, a Ren and Stimpy movie. Which also shout out to the length of that movie, A+.
Yes, there was no reason for that to be a 2-hour slog. No. Eric, what was your?
Okay, so I like Allie, I started looking up all the cartoons that I loved, and so many of them have already been made into movies, either live action or the one that I was really hoping I could do, but is already a movie, is the Powerpuff Girls, because I enjoyed the Powerpuff Girls a lot. But there is like an animated movie based, so that's been done. So I went way back, and when I was a little kid, before either of you were probably born, my favorite Saturday morning cartoon was the Hanna-Barbera Laugh Olympics, which was a send-up of the Olympic Games, and it was 3 teams that always played against each other: the Yogi Yahooies, the Scooby Doobies, and the Really Rottens, who were all the villains. Like Boris and Natasha were in the Really Rottens, and that dog who was evil, and like all of them. So I started looking at all the cast of characters, and there were 4 members of the Scooby Doobies, and I'm like, who are they? And I eventually like kept going down this rabbit hole, and I found out that they are, and I remembered, because I do remember them from the show, Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels. Mm-hmm. Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels had their own series for 3 years in the 70s. And
really?
The Teen Angels, yes. The Teen Angels are these 3 women who rescue a caveman from his frozen state and reanimate him. And he's like a superhero. He's got super strength. He looks like Cousin It, but he pulls all the shit out of his hair all the time. Yes. And, he's just got And then these three women are kind of like the brains of the outfit, the slight ditz who's smarter than she lets on, and the real nervous Nellie who's kind of like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. So they've got real distinct personalities, but they're always saving the world from some nefarious evildoer. So my plot for Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels that an evil game show host, heavily reminiscent of Donald Trump, because before he was president and tried to ruin the world, Donald Trump was actually a glorified game show host. He wants to take over the world, but he's not running for president. He's just creating this men's movement that turns men into basement-dwelling, acne-ridden incels. And it's up to Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels to save the day and take down the evil game show host. This is just a real, like, a little on the nose in terms of a directorial choice, but I want real Barbie vibes from this because it's like I want this to be kind of a big feminist statement. So Greta Gerwig is going to, you know, turn her Barbie magic onto Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels. And in the beginning, when, you know, before the plot is uncovered and we just see that there's something wrong here, but nobody quite knows what, there's going to be a song sung by the women of the world called Men Are Trash. And Men Are Trash is going to be my Oscar-nominated song, and the performance at the Academy Awards is going to be epic.
I love that.
Amazing.
I had no idea that Captain Caveman was like Charlie from Charlie's Angels.
Yes.
Like,
the whole thing is a parody of both Charlie's Angels and Scooby-Doo a little bit, because, you know, Dee Dee is definitely kind of Fred. The brunette, whose name I forget, is definitely Daphne. And then the other one is definitely just shades of the stoner, Shaggy.
Shaggy.
Alleged stoner. We don't know.
Oh, come on.
We know.
It's like Velma's an alleged lesbian.
Right.
Well, as usual, I feel bad for going last and not first because I don't think mine compares as well. But I went with something that was a little bit more recent. I went with the show Rick and Morty. I don't know if either of you are familiar with this show.
I know of it.
Yeah, by name only, really.
It is probably my new favorite animated show. I gobble up every season. It's a sci-fi show. Actually, I battled between this and Lower Decks because I figured an animated Star Trek movie would be hilarious too, because that is a fucking funny show. But I went with Rick and Morty. Basically, you know, Rick is a know-it-all scientist. He's like modeled after Doc Brown, and then Morty is supposed to be like what's his name from Back to the Future?
Marty McFly.
Marty McFly, yes. But Rick is so self-involved. He's completely brilliant, but doesn't care about anything. And then Morty is his grandson, and, you know, hilarity ensues. It is multiversal, so like there are many Ricks. In fact, they have jumped universes multiple times because they end up destroying the universe, and so they have to start off in another one that they can find that's as close to their last one.
Right.
Like in the latest one, I think the universe is exactly the same, except everybody pronounces the word Parmesan Parmesan. So it's stuff like that.
So highbrow, Matt. That's just
it's so highbrow. But it gets into some really interesting things. And so in my movie, what I want this to be is Rick kind of comes to grips with his own massive intelligence, because he always kind of, you know, he is an atheist and doesn't believe in God in the show. They kind of talk about that. But what happens when the multiverse is starting to collapse because you destroyed a universe, and the multiverse is kind of like a honeycomb. So you have reduced the structural integrity of the multiverse because one of the universes is now degraded and starting to shrink and disappear. So the universes, instead of pushing against each other to keep each other in position, are now starting to fall in on each other. So you have to build a new universe to fill the void of the one that you've destroyed. So that is going to be the premise. So Rick has to figure out how to restart or rebuild a universe. And what do you do when you become God, essentially? And ultimately, do you add yourself back into that universe as a living person? And so you've just created yourself. I think it could be like really wild. So my movie song is going to be "Oh Man, I'm a God." That's gonna I think it'd be kind of a funny song. And he's kind of a dick, so it'd be really funny for him, for
Nice.
Rick to actually sing. And the movie, I think, needs to be directed by Judd Apatow. I think he would get the sense of humor for the entire movie. And generally, his movies are paced really well. So his don't go on and on and on. It's not like an SNL skit. So I think he'd be a good director for this film.
I'm into it. And maybe I should start watching Rick and Morty because I do love Back to the Future.
Do at least 2 seasons, and it is going to start out rough. You are not going to like. It's going to start out rough. You're not going to like a lot of characters. It is some real family bullshit that goes on.
Okay, noted.
Okay, well, that brings us to skip, rent, or buy. Skip is blame Canada. Rent, see what all the Terrence and Phillip fuss is about. Buy, help Terrence and Phillip escape the clutches of the U.S. government. So, in reverse order, Eric, skip, rent, or buy?
Okay, you just talked about escaping. I can't believe we never talked about the mole.
Oh,
So fucking funny. Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. And do I need to see it again? No. I mean, in another 25 years, maybe. It is what it is, and it's very funny. I think if I watched it too many times, I'd begin to hate myself. But I have to give it to them. It's some funny shit. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff in there that for an hour and 20 minutes of a little bit of diversion, and if you want to smile, there's a whole lot. There's many worse ways to spend an hour and 20 minutes of your life. So I'm a very strong, enthusiastic rent. My rent is not a meh. My rent is just, I really, really liked it. And I probably don't think I need to see it again.
fair. Okay. Allie?
I would say that I'm a light rent. I didn't hate it. I feel more than meh about it. I did think some of it was funny much to my chagrin, as a person and a human being. It's true. I have to say that I didn't even say this before, so I'm saying it now. It really lost me when it started going into the battle. I got real bored very quickly. I would say the first, hour before that, so basically like the last 20 minutes of the movie, I had fully checked out. But I did enjoy the journey to that part. And like I said, there were some funny parts. And I've said before, I did Matt and Trey's Cannibal the Musical as a stage show, and it is fucking hilarious. So if somebody puts it on near you or you get a chance to see it, it is hilarious. It is a thing of genius. The songs are hilarious. The characters are great. It was basically his, I believe Trey Parker's senior project in college, and it was an animated thing that he did way back when, and they turned it into a stage musical. Anyway, it's fucking hilarious. So I do have an affinity for them. So yeah, light rent.
Hannibal, is that basically a musical version of Hannibal?
No, it's a
Like
musical
Hannibal
version of
Lecter?
like crossing the Donner, like the Donner Party.
Oh,
It's
wow.
really fucking funny.
There is a musical though based on Hannibal. It's called Silence! !
Yes. Yes. No, this is
And
based
it's
on the
also
Donner
very
Party.
funny.
Yeah, this is based on the Donner Party, and it's like 5 or 6 guys trying to cross the Donner Pass, and it's fucking hilarious. I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link to some songs and stuff.
Please.
Yeah.
Please. I don't think it's any surprise that I'm a buy. I feel like this is a good brain cleanse. Like at the end of the day, when you just need to detach and
Is
reset.
cleanse the right word? Really?
I mean, you
Ethnic
forget
cleanse?
everything
You mean
else.
ethnic cleanse?
Do we need Canada? That's the question. No.
Their beady eyes and their flappy faces.
I'm a definite buy on this movie. It hits all my comedy beats. Like I said, I am basically a 12-year-old at heart. So I like the intelligent stuff. I like the stupid stuff. It all makes me laugh. So, okay, two rents and a buy. That's actually not bad. So,
Pretty good.
well, next up, we are going to be watching The Talented Mr. Ripley.
A hard right turn.
Yes.
Right turn.
I will unfortunately miss the next episode, but I understand that the estimable Joe Prince is going to be taking my chair.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Joining us
So
for that.
have a great conversation. I love that movie, by the way, so I'm sad that I'm not able to speak about it. But it was either that one or Miss My Own Movie that I picked that I have to lead. So I couldn't make it work any other way.
Yeah, I'm excited. I haven't seen it in maybe not since '99 or maybe one other time. So I'm excited to watch it again.
I remember having mixed feelings about the movie when I saw it. So it'll be an interesting rewatch for me.
Well,
Like,
I
the
cannot
movie itself
wait
was
for
well
the Andrew
made.
Scott miniseries. That is like must-see
Yes.
viewing on my list.
Yeah.
I'll have to add that in.
Mhm.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us for another episode of the Rewind Project. This one will not be bigger, longer, and uncut.
Probably for the best.
Probably for the best. But thanks again for joining us. I'm Matt.
I'm Allie.
I'm Eric.
Be kind. Rewind.
You've been listening to The Rewind Project. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, and Google Play. Please subscribe and rate us. It helps a lot. We love your comments and questions. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and via our new phone number at 202-618-2402. Thanks for listening. Be kind. Rewind.
Imagine putting that on your resume. Voice of the clitoris.
Oh, that would be the first thing on my resume.
Yeah.